Good morning and welcome back to the Beautiful Things channel. Today I want to talk to you about wool winders and swifts. Lots of people come into my studio and when they see our desk set up here with our swift and our wool winder, they always ask me, Claire, what is that and what's it for? So I thought for those of you who don't know what it's for, I'd show you what it was for, and those of you who do know what it's for, I'd show you exactly how I use it. Now, a wool winder and swift is used to transfer yarn from a skein like this, which is quite commonly seen nowadays. These are kind of how the hand-dyed market tends to produce its yarn. Put them from a skein into a traditional ball of wool. You can't knit off one of these. You would get into a terrible, terrible tangle. Now, traditionally, you may well remember having to do something like this for your nan or your mum or your aunt. Taking a skein of yarn, placing it around your hands and sitting there while they quietly wound off a ball of yarn. Now that is still entirely possible, it's still something you can do. Another trick is to put a chair upside down on a table and spread your yarn around the chair legs. Sometimes, if Mr. Mac is feeling really nice, he'll even spread open his feet and I'll pop it round his feet and I'll hand ball it. But I'll only do that if I don't have my swift and wool winder to hand. Now, we've got quite a posh swift and wool winder here at BTHQ, mainly because I wanted to make the lounge look nice and welcoming and so people could come in and use it and not feel intimidated and that they might break it because it's quite solid. But you may well have something that looks like this. These are more traditional wool winders. They're certainly less expensive than the big wooden ones, and they simply clamp onto your table with this little bracket here. They're used in exactly the same way I'm going to show you with my big wood one. They're just smaller, plastic and less expensive. I'll pop a link down below for this version and also the expensive version. So let me show you how you do things. First up, you're going to untwist your skein so it's in one big loop like so. Then you're going to take your yarn and you're going to place it over your swift. If you're right-handed, do this with your left hand, and if you're left-handed, do it with your right hand. But I'm right-handed, so I'm holding my yarn with my right hand, and with my left hand I'm going to just squeeze it close to the swift and let it hang. Then you've got to push the swift up. Now this can be a little bit of a tricky thing. You have to give it a bit of a wiggle and it will suddenly go. You don't want to force it, but start to lift it up, and as you do, you let the yarn slide through your fingers and you keep pushing the swift up until the yarn is held tightly. There's then a clamp at the bottom which you can lift up and tighten to stop it falling down. So that's now on there. You can see I've still got all the ties on it, and there'll be either 1, 2 or 3 pieces of yarn wrapped around your skein to hold it all together. You leave those intact until you've got it to this point. Once it's securely on the swift, you can then remove any ties and labels that you might have, and then you're going to work your way around the skein looking for those ties, and you'll be able to find them because they'll just be knots, as you can see here. And all you do is cut off just the knot. That will then allow you to pull out the strand of yarn that is tying your skein together, like so. And if it's what I like to call the main knot, then it will also have your start and end of the skein attached to it. Now sometimes there's just one like this on a skein of yarn, and other times there's more. I don't know how many there are this time, so I'm going to keep going round just to check if there's any others. So it turns out there was just the one tie on this skein. That's actually quite unusual, and it's typical that it's the one I've picked to show you how to use this thing. But you would keep working your way round, and if you came across another one, again, just cut off the knot and remove the strand of yarn. Once it's all untied, then go back to your start and finish yarns and work out which one is on the outside and which one's on the inside. It's the one that's on the outside, so that's going to come off this skein really easily, that we want to attach to our winder. So you're going to want to take your yarn and you're going to come over to your winder, and there's a rod, a metal rod here. You're going to take the yarn through the winder so it threads through the hole, and then you're going to place it into the groove that's on the top of your winder. Now exactly the same goes if you're using a plastic winder. Once you've got that done and it's gone through the tension rod and it's into the top, then it's time to start winding. I've got my Swift set up because I'm right-handed. I've got my winder on the right and I've got my Swift on the left. Now if you were left-handed, you want it to be the other way around, because obviously you want to use your dominant hand to do your winding and then you want your yarn to come off. All I'm going to do, I'm going to just take hold of this yarn as it comes up to the Swift and just keep it in my hand so it's got a little bit of extra tension. Then I'm just going to start turning my winder and you'll see it starting to cake up. Now if you can help it, it's best not to stop winding. If you do need to stop winding though, just hold on to the yarn as it comes off the Swift and come to a stop, and then you can just tighten your Swift up a little bit to keep the tension in this yarn. That's going to stop it from getting loose and baggy. You can see a little bit better here that I'm holding this yarn just as it comes off the Swift. You can't see that at all. There we go. Just as it comes off the Swift, just to give it a little bit of extra tension. And then you just keep winding and winding and winding until it's full up. If you find that your skein is coming off the Swift perfectly okay, like mine is, you can afford to let go. To be fair, this is a nice smooth winder, so it does tend to work and behave itself. The plastic ones can be a little bit more pernickety and need a little bit more effort on your part. But this certainly does help build up the old muscles. These wood winders are lovely. They are an expense, but if you're going to wind a lot of yarn, they are worth the investment. They're incredibly smooth, and as you can hear, they're really quiet, whereas the plastic ones can be a bit noisy. And they do tend to jump a little bit. You can get, you know, loose saggy bits of yarn, or they can get a bit tangled. They're a bit more of a fight. So I'm going to stop this now. So I've just stopped the tension here, and I'm then having to wind my Swift back a bit to keep that tension just while I go and answer my phone. Starting to come to an end now, so I want to show you what happens when it gets to the end. So I go back to tensioning it because I can see that it's going to run out very soon, and I don't want this piece of yarn to just come flying off the Swift. I've gone a bit slower because here it comes. It's the last bit, and I'm just going to catch that in. And then I'll show you what you do with the ball. So this is a trick that my mum taught me. She takes the last bit of the yarn and just winds it around the cake. Little crochet hook just goes under a few strands of yarn, takes hold of the working yarn and just pulls it through just to tuck it away. Another one that I sometimes do is I'll take one of my daughter's hair slides and I'll just use a hair slide and just clip my tail end to my ball band. And then all you're going to do is you're going to pop your fingers in the centre, or your two thumbs in the centre, put your fingers underneath the ball and just push it off. And you can see you've got yourself a nice cake of yarn. So hopefully you found that interesting. If you already use a Swift and ball winder, maybe you learnt a new tip today. And if you don't use one, maybe you want to. And if you just wanted to know what they were, well, there you go. Now you know. I will pop some links down in the description for the Swift and wool winder that I use, and also the plastic version. They are all Knit Pro. They're just ones that I tend to use. There's no right or wrong Swift or wool winder to buy. They're just ones that I've used and I know that I like. And they are affiliate links. That doesn't mean that it's going to cost you any more to buy them. It just means that I will get a little teeny tiny commission for pointing you in the right direction. So I hope you'll appreciate that. You may have noticed recently that I have switched the ads off on my channel. I have actually done a separate video about that. I'll link it up here. But that means that I will be popping affiliate links down below in my descriptions if I talk about certain products or certain ideas. But I'm pretty sure you're going to be okay with that. So thank you for watching. I'll be back in a few days' time with another top tip. Bye!